The night was quiet at the Arecibo Observatory in Puerto Rico. Stars twinkled in the dark sky, and the giant radio telescope dish reflected the moonlight. Inside the control room, Dr. Sarah Chen yawned as she checked the incoming data. It was 2:37 a.m., and her shift was almost over. Suddenly, a loud beep from her computer made her jump. Sarah's eyes widened as she looked at the screen. The signal was unlike anything she had ever seen before. It wasn't random noise or a pulsar. This was a pattern, a clear, repeating message from deep space. "Holy cow," Sarah whispered. Her fingers flew over the keyboard as she started to analyze the signal. After a few minutes, she grabbed her phone and called her boss, Dr. James Wilson. "James, you need to see this. Now." An hour later, the control room was buzzing with activity. Scientists from different departments huddled around screens, talking excitedly. Dr. Wilson stood in the center, his face serious as he listened to Sarah's explanation. "The signal is coming from just outside our solar system," Sarah said, pointing to a star map. "It's not moving, which means whatever sent it is stuck there." Dr. Wilson nodded slowly. "And you're sure it's artificial?" "Positive," Sarah replied. "The pattern is too complex to be natural. And there's more." She pressed a button, and a series of beeps and clicks filled the room. "We think it's a language." A hush fell over the group. They were listening to the first confirmed alien communication in human history. Over the next few days, the best code breakers and linguists in the world worked non-stop to decipher the message. Military leaders watched nervously, unsure if this was a threat or a greeting. The public was kept in the dark to prevent panic. Finally, after a week of intense work, they cracked the code. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, a brilliant linguist from Argentina, stood before a room full of government officials and scientists to present their findings. "The message is a distress call," Elena explained, her voice trembling slightly with excitement. "There's an alien fleet stranded just beyond Pluto. Their main propulsion system has failed, and they're asking for help." The room erupted in questions. How many ships? Are they peaceful? What do they look like? Elena held up her hands for silence. "We don't have all the answers yet," she said. "But we know they're in trouble. They've been drifting for what they call 500 cycles. We think that's about 200 Earth years. Their life support systems are failing. If we don't help them soon, they'll die out there." General Frank Harrison, a tough-looking man with gray hair, spoke up. "How do we know this isn't a trick? They could be invaders." Dr. Wilson stepped forward. "We don't know for sure," he admitted. "But think about it. If they wanted to invade, why pretend to be stranded? They're already at our doorstep. No, I believe they're genuinely in need of help." The debate raged on for hours. Some argued that helping aliens was too risky. Others said it was humanity's duty to assist. As the sun began to rise, casting an orange glow through the windows, a decision was reached. President Laura Chen addressed the world that evening. Billions of people watched their screens as she revealed the existence of the alien fleet and humanity's plan to help them. "My fellow Earthlings," she said, her voice steady and calm. "Today, we face the greatest challenge and the greatest opportunity in human history. We are not alone in the universe, and our cosmic neighbors need our help. I have authorized a mission to rescue the stranded alien fleet." She paused, letting her words sink in. "This mission will be dangerous. It will push the limits of our technology and our courage. But it is the right thing to do. We have a chance to show the best of humanity, our compassion, our ingenuity, and our bravery." As the president's speech ended, the world buzzed with a mix of fear and excitement. In homes, schools, and workplaces across the globe, people talked about nothing else. Humanity stood on the brink of a new era, ready to reach out and touch the stars. And in the deep, cold darkness of space, a fleet of alien ships waited, their hopes pinned on a small blue planet and its inhabitants who had heard their call for help. The world was in chaos after President Chen's announcement. Streets filled with people, some celebrating, others protesting. News channels ran nonstop coverage, and social media exploded with theories and debates. In Washington, D.C., a secret meeting was called. World leaders from every major nation gathered in a secure underground bunker. The room was tense as they took their seats around a large oval table. President Chen stood at the head of the table, her face grave. "Thank you all for coming on such short notice," she said. "We have a decision to make that will affect the future of our entire species." The leaders looked at each other nervously. Some had flown halfway across the world for this meeting, leaving their countries in a state of unrest. "We've heard from our top scientists," President Chen continued. "They believe the alien distress call is genuine. But we need to decide if we should help them, and how." The Russian president, Dmitry Volkov, spoke first. "This could be a trick," he said, his voice gruff. "How do we know they won't attack us once we get close?" "We don't," replied Dr. James Wilson, who had been invited to present the scientific perspective. "But our analysis of their message shows no signs of hostility. They seem desperate." The debate raged on for hours. The Chinese premier argued that helping the aliens could lead to advanced technology that would benefit all of humanity. The Indian Prime Minister worried about the cost of a rescue mission when so many on Earth still lived in poverty. As the arguments went back and forth, a young aide quietly entered the room and whispered something to President Chen. She stood up, silencing the room. "We've just received another message from the alien fleet," she announced. "They've managed to send us an image." She nodded to the aide, who pressed a button. A large screen on the wall flickered to life, showing a blurry but unmistakable picture of the alien ship. The room fell silent. The ship was massive, easily the size of a small city. Its design was unlike anything humans had ever built, with sweeping curves and strange protrusions. But what caught everyone's attention was the visible damage. Large sections of the hull were dark and lifeless, and debris floated around it. "They're dying out there," Dr. Wilson said softly. "Their life support systems are failing. We estimate they have less than 6 Earth months before they run out of resources." The mood in the room shifted. Even the most skeptical leaders couldn't deny the reality of what they were seeing. The British Prime Minister, Emma Thompson, stood up. "I say we help them," she declared. "Yes, there are risks. But imagine the possibilities if we succeed. We could gain knowledge that advances our civilization by centuries. More importantly, we'd be doing the right thing." Slowly, other leaders began to nod in agreement. The German Chancellor proposed a joint international effort, pooling resources and expertise from around the world. As the sun began to rise outside, casting a warm glow through the bunker's few windows, a vote was called. One by one, the world leaders cast their votes. President Chen counted the final tally, her hands shaking slightly. She looked up at the room, a smile breaking across her tired face. "It's decided," she announced. "We will launch a rescue mission to save the alien fleet." The room erupted in applause and sighs of relief. Even those who had argued against the mission seemed to stand a little taller, proud to be part of this historic decision. As the meeting adjourned, leaders began making calls to set the rescue plan in motion. Scientists would need to design a ship capable of the journey. A crew would need to be selected and trained. The whole world would need to come together like never before. Outside the bunker, the first rays of sunlight painted the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks. It was a new dawn, not just for Earth, but for humanity's place in the universe. As the world leaders emerged, blinking in the bright morning light, they knew the hard work was just beginning. But for the first time in history, the people of Earth were united in a common goal that went beyond their own planet. Somewhere in the darkness of space, a stranded alien fleet waited, unaware that their salvation was coming from a small blue planet they had only just discovered. The next 6 months were the busiest in human history. Every country poured its resources into the rescue mission. Scientists and engineers worked around the clock to design and build the most advanced spacecraft ever created. At the newly established Global Space Cooperation Center in Tokyo, Dr. Yuki Tanaka led the international team of engineers. The massive hangar buzzed with activity as workers assembled the rescue ship piece by piece. "We're combining technologies from every space agency on Earth," Yuki explained to a group of visiting officials. She pointed to a shimmering panel. "This is a new type of heat shield developed in India." Then she gestured to a complex array of antennas. "And this communication system was designed in Brazil. It should allow us to talk to the aliens more clearly." The ship, named Unity, was a marvel of human ingenuity. It was built to carry a crew of 20 and travel faster than any previous spacecraft. Its hull gleamed silver in the hangar lights, bristling with sensors and equipment. While the ship was being built, another crucial task was underway: selecting the crew. Thousands of the world's best astronauts, scientists, and engineers applied. The selection process was rigorous, testing not just physical and mental abilities, but also the capacity to work as a team under extreme stress. In the end, 20 individuals from 18 different countries were chosen. They represented the best of humanity, a diverse group united by their skills and their commitment to the mission. The crew's training was intense. They spent months in simulators, preparing for every possible scenario. They learned about alien biology and studied the messages from the stranded fleet, trying to understand the beings they would soon meet. Captain Maria Hernandez, a veteran astronaut from Mexico, led the crew. "We're not just going on a rescue mission," she told them during a briefing. "We're going to make first contact. The future of Earth-alien relations depends on us." As the launch date approached, the whole world held its breath. Schools were closed, and many businesses shut down so people could watch the historic event. In every city, huge screens were set up in public squares to broadcast the launch. The night before the launch, the crew had one last meal together on Earth. They sat around a large table, eating foods from their home countries and sharing stories. Despite the weight of their mission, laughter filled the room. "To Unity," Captain Hernandez said, raising her glass in a toast. "And to new friendships, both on this ship and among the stars." The next morning, dawn broke clear and bright over the launch site in Kazakhstan. The Unity stood on the launch pad, gleaming in the early sunlight. Steam billowed around its base as final preparations were made. The crew, dressed in their sleek new spacesuits, walked out to cheers from the assembled crowd. Each step took them closer to history. They waved to the cameras, their faces a mix of excitement and determination. As they boarded the ship, billions of people around the world watched on screens big and small. Children in classrooms, families in living rooms, crowds in city squares. All eyes were on Unity. Inside the ship, the crew strapped into their seats. Captain Hernandez's voice was steady as she ran through the final checklist with Mission Control. "Unity, you are go for launch," came the voice from Mission Control. Captain Hernandez looked at her crew. "Let's go make history," she said with a smile. The engines roared to life, shaking the ground for miles around. Slowly, majestically, Unity rose from the launch pad. Fire and smoke billowed beneath it as it climbed higher and higher. People around the world cheered, cried, and hugged each other as they watched the ship rise into the sky. Unity grew smaller and smaller, eventually becoming just a bright point of light streaking across the blue. As the ship broke free of Earth's atmosphere, the crew felt the sudden weightlessness of space. Through the windows, they saw their home planet shrinking behind them, a beautiful blue marble suspended in the darkness. Dr. Amelia Wong, the ship's xenobiologist, voiced what they were all thinking. "I hope we make Earth proud." Unity accelerated, pushing deeper into space. Their journey to save an alien civilization, and perhaps change the course of human history, had begun. After months of travel through the cold emptiness of space, Unity finally approached the coordinates of the stranded alien fleet. The crew, who had spent their journey studying and preparing, now faced the reality of their mission. Captain Maria Hernandez's voice was calm but tinged with excitement as she addressed her team. "This is it, everyone. We're about to make history. Remember your training. And let's show these aliens the best of humanity. As Unity drew closer, they got their first real look at the alien ships. The crew gasped in awe. The fleet was massive, consisting of 5 ships, each bigger than any spacecraft humans had ever built. The largest ship, presumably the flagship, was shaped like a giant silver leaf, its surface etched with intricate patterns that seemed to glow faintly. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the chief engineer, studied the readings on her screen. "Captain, the alien ships are definitely powered down. I'm detecting only minimal energy signatures." Captain Hernandez nodded. "All right, let's try to communicate." "Dr. Chen, you're up." Dr. Sarah Chen, the linguist who had first decoded the alien distress signal, took a deep breath. She activated the communication system and began transmitting the greeting message they had prepared. Minutes ticked by intense silence. Then, suddenly, the communication panel lit up. Strange symbols flashed across the screen, accompanied by a series of musical tones. "They're responding," Dr. Chen exclaimed, her fingers flying over the keyboard as she worked to translate. They're surprised we came. They say they've been waiting for so long, they had almost given up hope." A cheer went up from the crew. They had made contact. But the celebration was short-lived. As Dr. Chen continued translating, her expression grew worried. "Captain, they're saying their life support systems are critical. They need our help immediately." Captain Hernandez didn't hesitate. "Prepare for docking procedures. Dr. Wong, get your team ready. We're going aboard." The next few hours were a flurry of activity. Unity carefully maneuvered alongside the alien flagship, extending its docking tube. Captain Hernandez selected a small team to accompany her: Dr. Amelia Wong, the xenobiologist, Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the engineer, and Dr. Sarah Chen, the linguist. As they prepared to board the alien ship, tension filled the air. Despite months of preparation, no one knew exactly what to expect. The airlock hissed open, and the team stepped into the alien ship. The corridor before them was dimly lit, with strange, swirling patterns on the walls that seemed to move in the corner of their eyes. "Stay alert," Captain Hernandez whispered, leading the way. They moved deeper into the ship, their footsteps echoing in the eerie silence. Suddenly, a door at the end of the corridor slid open. The humans froze. 3 alien figures glided into view. They were tall and slender, with iridescent skin that shimmered in the low light. Their eyes, large and multifaceted like those of insects, regarded the humans with what seemed like curiosity. Dr. Chen stepped forward, her voice shaking slightly as she attempted to speak in the aliens' language. The musical tones she produced seemed to surprise the aliens. They responded with a series of melodic chirps and whistles. "They're welcoming us," Dr. Chen translated, her voice filled with wonder. "They're thanking us for coming to their aid." Captain Hernandez stepped forward, extending her hand in a gesture of peace. After a moment's hesitation, one of the aliens reached out a long, slender appendage and gently touched her hand. The contact sent a shiver through everyone present. 2 species, born on different worlds, were touching for the first time. Communication was challenging at first. The aliens' language was complex, relying heavily on musical tones and subtle color changes in their skin. But as the hours passed, both sides began to understand each other better. The aliens, who called themselves the Harmonians, explained their plight. Their ship's main drive systems had failed during a long exploratory mission. They had drifted for centuries, their crew in suspended animation, waking only periodically to send out distress signals. As Dr. Wong examined some of the Harmonians, she made an exciting discovery. "Captain," she said, her voice filled with awe, "their biology is incredible. They seem to be able to photosynthesize like plants, but also eat solid food. And their lifespans, if I'm reading this correctly, they can live for hundreds of years." Meanwhile, Dr. Tanaka was assessing the aliens' technology. Their systems are far more advanced than ours in many ways, she reported. But the principle behind their propulsion system is similar to our theoretical models. I think we might be able to help repair it. As the initial excitement settled into focused work, both humans and Harmonians realized the enormity of the task ahead. Repairing the alien fleet would be a huge challenge, requiring both human ingenuity and Harmonian knowledge. But as Captain Hernandez looked around at her team working side by side with the aliens, she felt a surge of hope. This was more than just a rescue mission now. It was the beginning of a partnership that could change the future of both species. As days turned into weeks, the crew of Unity worked tirelessly alongside the Harmonians to repair the damaged alien fleet. The massive hangar bay of the Harmonian flagship became a bustling workshop, filled with the sounds of human tools and alien technology working in concert. Dr. Yuki Tanaka wiped sweat from her brow as she examined a complex array of crystalline structures that formed the core of the Harmonian propulsion system. "It's like nothing I've ever seen," she muttered, her eyes wide with wonder. The crystals seemed to channel energy in ways that defy our understanding of physics. Beside her, a Harmonian engineer named Zixta emitted a series of melodic tones. Dr. Sarah Chen, who had been improving her grasp of the alien language, translated. "Zixta says the crystals are grown, not manufactured. They're alive, in a sense." This revelation sent shockwaves through the human team. The idea of living technology was revolutionary, opening up endless possibilities for advancement. Meanwhile, in another part of the ship, Dr. Amelia Wong was facing a different challenge. Many of the Harmonians were falling ill, their bodies struggling after centuries in suspended animation. "Their immune systems are compromised," Dr. Wong explained to Captain Hernandez. "And some of our common bacteria, harmless to us, are making them sick." The captain's face grew serious. "What can we do?" Dr. Wong's eyes lit up with an idea. "Their ability to photosynthesize. If we could boost that somehow, strengthen their bodies." This sparked a flurry of activity. The human engineers, led by Dr. Tanaka, worked to modify the ship's lighting systems, creating spectrums that would nourish the Harmonians. Dr. Wong and her team developed a nutrient spray that could be absorbed through the aliens' iridescent skin. As the days passed, unexpected problems arose. The differences in technology sometimes led to dangerous mishaps. During one repair attempt, a power surge nearly vaporized a section of Unity's hull. Another time, a misunderstanding about Harmonian biology led to a quarantine scare that lasted for days. But with each challenge, the two species learned more about each other. The humans marveled at the Harmonians' ability to communicate complex ideas through color changes in their skin. The aliens were impressed by humanity's adaptability and quick problem-solving skills. 1 month into the mission, a major breakthrough occurred. Dr. Tanaka and her Harmonian counterparts managed to reactivate the main power core of the flagship. The ship hummed to life, its walls pulsing with soft, bioluminescent light. The celebration that followed was unlike anything in human history. Harmonians expressed their joy through a dazzling display of color and music, their bodies shimmering in complex patterns. The humans cheered and hugged each other, some moved to tears by the magnitude of their accomplishment. But the work was far from over. While the flagship was now operational, the other 4 ships in the Harmonian fleet still needed extensive repairs, and a new problem had emerged. Captain Hernandez called an emergency meeting with the lead Harmonian, a wise elder named Orcs. "Our long-range sensors have detected an anomaly," she explained, pointing to a holographic display. "There's a massive object moving towards us at high speed. We can't identify it, but it's not natural." Elorix's skin paled to a soft blue, a sign of concern. "In our long journey, the alien's melodic voice translated through Dr. Chen. We encountered other species. Not all were friendly. This could be trouble." The mood in the room grew tense. They had come so far, overcome so many challenges. Was all their hard work about to be undone by an unknown threat? Captain Hernandez stood tall, her voice firm. "We've achieved the impossible by working together. Whatever's coming, we'll face it the same way." Unity and the Harmonian fleet, standing as one. Elric's skin shifted to a deep purple of respect and agreement. Around the room, humans and Harmonians nodded in unison. As alarms began to sound across both human and alien ships, the crews sprang into action. Engineers rushed to speed up repairs, scientists analyzed the incoming data, and security teams prepared for any eventuality. In the vastness of space, two unlikely allies stood ready to face an unknown danger. The rescue mission had suddenly become something much bigger, a fight for survival that would test the newfound bond between humanity and the Harmonians. The alarms blared across both Unity and the Harmonian fleet as the unknown object drew closer. Captain Maria Hernandez stood on the bridge of Unity, her face a mask of determination. Around her, humans and Harmonians worked side by side, their earlier differences forgotten in the face of this new threat. "Report," Hernandez barked. Dr. Yuki Tanaka's fingers flew over her console. "The object is massive, Captain. At least 3 times the size of the Harmonian flagship. It's changing shape." On the main view screen, a monstrous ship came into view. Its surface writhed and shifted like liquid metal, forming spikes and tentacles that reached out towards them. Elrix, the Harmonian elder, let out a low, mournful tone. "The Devourers," he said, his skin paling to an ashen gray. "We encountered them once, long ago. They consume everything in their path. Ships, planets, even stars." Captain Hernandez's mind raced. They were outgunned and still repairing the Harmonian fleet. Running wasn't an option. The Devourers would simply follow and possibly find Earth. They had to make a stand here. "All hands to battle stations," she ordered. "Dr. Tanaka, what offensive capabilities do we have?" Yuki's face was grim. "Unity's weapons are no match for that thing, Captain." But her eyes lit up with an idea. "The Harmonian crystals. If we could modify them to focus energy like a laser." "Do it," Hernandez nodded. She turned to Elrix. "Can your people help?" The alien's skin rippled with determination. "We will do what we must to survive." What followed was a frantic race against time. As the Devourer ship approached, humans and Harmonians worked frantically to turn their ships into weapons. Dr. Tanaka and her team rigged Unity's power core to the alien crystals, creating a makeshift energy cannon. Harmonian engineers reconfigured their bioluminescent systems into blinding flares. Just as the final preparations were made, the Devourer attacked. Tendrils of metallic liquid shot out, wrapping around one of the smaller Harmonian ships. The screams of the aliens inside echoed through the communication channels as their ship was slowly crushed. "Fire everything," Captain Hernandez shouted. Unity's crystal cannon erupted with a beam of pure energy, slicing through one of the Devourer's tendrils. The Harmonian ships lit up like miniature suns, their flares disorienting the attacker's sensors. For a moment, it seemed to work. The Devourer recoiled, its liquid metal surface bubbling and hissing where Unity's beam had struck. But then it surged forward again, more tendrils lashing out. "It's adapting to our attacks," Dr. Wong yelled from her station. "The energy beam isn't as effective anymore." Captain Hernandez gritted her teeth. They needed a new strategy fast. Her eyes fell on the Harmonian flagship, its hull still pulsing with bioluminescent energy. An idea formed. "Elrix," she called out, "you said your ships are alive. Can they grow?" The alien's eyes widened in understanding. "Yes, but it would take tremendous energy." "Energy we can provide," Hernandez finished. She turned to her crew. "Divert all power to the Harmonian flagship. We're going to give them a growth spurt." The plan was risky, but it was their only hope. As Unity and the other ships poured their energy into the Harmonian flagship, it began to change. The living metal of its hull expanded, forming new structures and appendages. It grew to match the Devourer in size, its surface now covered in crystalline spines and pulsing with intense light. The two massive ships clashed in space, a battle between consuming darkness and living light. Tendrils and crystal spears interlocked, neither able to gain the upper hand. On Unity's bridge, Captain Hernandez watched the Titanic struggle with bated breath. "We need to end this now," she muttered. Then, louder, "Dr. Tanaka, can we overload the crystals? Give them one final burst." Yuki nodded grimly. "It might burn out our systems, but yes." "Do it," Hernandez ordered. As Unity's systems redlined, pouring every last ounce of power into the crystals, the Harmonian flagship lit up like a newborn star. The burst of energy surged through its crystal weapons, amplified 1,000-fold. The Devourer ship writhed as the energy tore through it, its liquid metal form boiling away into space. With a final, silent explosion, it disintegrated completely. Cheers erupted across both human and Harmonian ships. They had done the impossible. Together, they had defeated a threat that neither species could have faced alone. As the adrenaline of battle faded, Captain Hernandez looked out at the starfield, now peaceful once more. This victory had changed everything. Humanity had not only rescued the Harmonians, but had also forged an alliance that would reshape the future of both their species. The rescue mission was complete, but their journey together was just beginning. The aftermath of the battle was a mixture of exhaustion and elation. As the debris of the Devourer ship drifted away into the vastness of space, the crews of Unity and the Harmonian fleet allowed themselves a moment of celebration. Captain Maria Hernandez stood on the observation deck of Unity, gazing out at the stars. The Harmonian flagship, still glowing faintly from its incredible transformation, loomed large in the view screen. She felt a presence beside her and turned to see Orcs, the Harmonian elder. "Your people fought bravely," Orcs said, his skin shimmering with patterns of gratitude and respect. "We owe you our lives many times over." Hernandez smiled. "We couldn't have done it without you. This victory belongs to both our species." As the initial euphoria subsided, the real work began. The battle had taken its toll on both human and Harmonian ships. Repair crews worked around the clock, this time with a new sense of camaraderie born from their shared triumph. Dr. Yuki Tanaka led a team of human and Harmonian engineers in repairing Unity's overloaded systems. As they worked, they exchanged ideas and techniques, each learning from the other's approach to technology. "You know," Yuki said to her Harmonian counterpart, "I think we've just scratched the surface of what we can achieve together." In the medical bay, Dr. Amelia Wong made a breakthrough in treating the Harmonians' ailments. By combining human medical knowledge with the aliens' unique biology, she developed a treatment that accelerated their healing process. "This is amazing," she exclaimed, watching as a Harmonian's wounds closed before her eyes. "The applications for this could revolutionize medicine for both our species." Days turned into weeks as the fleet prepared for their journey home. The Harmonian ships, now fully repaired and upgraded with human technology, hummed with new life. Unity, too, had been enhanced with Harmonian biotech, making it faster and more resilient than ever before. As the departure date approached, Captain Hernandez called a meeting of both human and Harmonian leaders. The atmosphere was one of anticipation and hope. "We came here on a rescue mission," Hernandez began, looking around the room. "But we've achieved so much more. We've proven that our species can not only coexist, but thrive together." Eloric stepped forward, his skin pulsing with agreement. "The Harmonians owe humanity a debt we can never fully repay. But perhaps we can start by offering our knowledge and friendship." What followed was a historic moment. The signing of the first interstellar alliance between Earth and the Harmonian homeworld. The agreement promised shared technology, cultural exchange, and mutual defense against threats like the Devourers. As news of the alliance reached Earth, celebrations erupted across the planet. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger galactic community, and the future seemed brighter than ever. The day of departure arrived. The fleet assembled, with Unity taking the lead and the Harmonian ships forming a protective formation around it. As they prepared to engage their engines, Captain Hernandez addressed both crews. Today, we embark on a journey that will change the course of history for both our peoples. We return not just as rescuers and rescued, but as friends and allies. The stars are no longer a barrier, but a bridge between us. With a brilliant flash of energy, the fleet engaged their newly combined human harmonium propulsion systems. They accelerated to speeds previously thought impossible, the fabric of space seeming to ripple around them. As they journeyed towards Earth, plans were already being made. The Harmonians would establish an embassy on Earth, while human scientists and diplomats would travel to the Harmonian homeworld. Joint research projects were proposed, promising advances in medicine, technology, and space exploration. But beyond the official agreements and scientific breakthroughs, something more profound had occurred. Two species, born on different worlds and separated by vast gulfs of space, had found common ground. They had faced adversity together and emerged stronger for it. As unity led the fleet towards home, Captain Hernandez reflected on their incredible journey. What had started as a daring rescue had become the beginning of a new era for both humanity and the Harmonians. The universe, once so vast and empty, now felt a little smaller, a little warmer. The rescue mission was over, but the true adventure was just beginning. As Earth grew larger in their view screens, Hernandez smiled. They were bringing home not just new allies, but a new future, one filled with endless possibilities among the stars.